The 2021 Asus ZenBook Duo 14 is one of the laptops to beat so early on this year. This review focuses on use case scenarios and real performance, with this machine being one of our first ever coming with a new Intel 11th generation Core i7 processor. While you can get the machine with an additional NVIDIA MX450 dedicated GPU as well, our unit in this case does not have one. While the base spec of the machine is impressive as it is, its design is worth a mention too. Right from its exterior asymmetric circle design to its celestial blue finish, everything just screams Asus about it. At 1.6 kilograms and 16.9 millimeters, the machine's a delight for portable usage as well. And quite conveniently, the thin chassis does not make too many sacrifices when it comes to I/O and connectivity. On the left, you find two Type-C Thunderbolt 4 USB-C ports alongside a dedicated HDMI 1.4 port. The right houses a USB Type-A port, a 3.5mm headphone jack, a micro SD card reader, and indication lights for the charge capacity and battery status of the machine. The inclusion of Thunderbolt 4 here is a great convenience, whether that's for data transfer or to expand on the available I/O that you have on the machine via an adapter. This surely makes the ZenBook Duo 14 future-proof, but it also means the machine supports up to 65 watts of charging via Type-C USB. Convenience we wish we saw earlier with these sort of machines, but we're glad it's finally here. Although, let's address the elephant in the room, the pair of the displays you have on this machine. With the ZenBook Duo, you find yourself two touchscreen panels that are Pantone validated at 1920 by 1080 and 1920 by 515 pixels respectively. One great feature about these is that both of them have a 400 nit brightness, making for uniformity across the board, which is something we really prefer. Using the primary panel on the device is a delight at 14 inches with great viewing angles and thin 4mm bezels. It has this nice matte feel to it, which is also great at repelling fingerprints and glare, something the exterior finish of the laptop unfortunately lacks. We've had no trouble using the panel even in direct light, so we're confident with its outdoor visibility too. Unfortunately, the ZenBook Duo's speakers are a bit of a mixed bag, so when you look at the overall multimedia experience, the speakers are not bad at all times, but with them being downward and sideward facing, they often tend to muffle when using the laptop on a sofa or a bed, but not so much on a table thanks to Asus's ErgoLift design on the machine. We think by moving these upwards towards the top of the machine, the Harman Kardon tuned speakers could work even better, so hopefully Asus takes note of that for a future version of this machine. While we are talking about multimedia, let's also address Windows Hello authentication, which works fairly seamlessly, as well as the HD camera on board for your video calls. And here's a sample of that for you to judge not only the quality, but also the audio that the laptop can pick up. Here's a sample of the video and audio straight from the laptop with pretty average lighting in the room. This is the room lighting turned on, and this is what you can expect when it comes to video as well as audio. Let's actually switch on a bit of ambient lighting and see how that makes a difference. Okay, now I've got light coming onto my face from this side as well as from this side, and I think this proves that if you want to use the web camera on the laptop, make sure you use it with an external light source or just use it where there's a lot of sunlight available to you. The other display of the ZenBook Duo is a 12.6-inch panel, and the interactivity between the primary and the secondary displays where all the magic really happens. Asus calls this display the ScreenPad Plus, and with it comes a lot of good. It essentially gives you a dual screen setup in a package you can carry anywhere. With this setup, you have the flexibility of doing work and perhaps enjoying a game of football or a TV show on Netflix simultaneously. It's really so easy to set up. The panel rises by about 7 degrees, resting on a strong hinge mechanism that complements the overall build of the laptop really well, which is made of aluminum and magnesium alloy. But every time you open the laptop up, the hinge makes this sort of cracking sound when rising up. This is not a big deal. It may not even impact long-term durability, but it certainly isn't reassuring to hear every single time. Here's a snippet of that just so you get an idea of what it sounds like. Build aside, the ScreenPad Plus also brings with it tons of software features, quick access to a number pad, being able to easily switch screens via software or a dedicated button, and have a task group setup where you can launch pairs of applications depending on your use case. Many of these features work with the My Asus software companion application, which keeps all of these things updated and running. And one of the core aspects about this overall experience is the control panel setting that Asus has incorporated with the ZenBook Duo. This works specifically for Adobe's Creative Cloud, with Photoshop and Premiere Pro being our primary use case scenarios. Paired with Photoshop, you get access to a useful suite of commands allowing you to interact with the top and bottom screen simultaneously. This kind of works well with Asus's dedicated stylus that you get out of the box with the machine, especially if you're someone who is an illustrator, and best of all, the overall interface can be customized to your preferences and the tools you use most often. This also works the same in Premiere Pro, although this is slightly less useful there because with video editing, we'd like to see the overall timeline of the video at all times. Thankfully, you can customize panes on Premiere Pro to do just that, but in doing so, you don't get the best accuracy or the most intuitive experience. Sometimes the menu when you right click sort of overflows into a third screen which doesn't exist, and you can't really access those settings in the ScreenPad Plus. But I think what Asus should work on is basically bringing that timeline experience to the control panel. We think if that becomes a core part of control panel, I think the overall experience will just be more polished and way more useful for a creative. Right, we could go on and on about the benefits of ScreenPad Plus here and its implementation, but we're sure you get the gist of it. Now, running the overall show on the laptop is Windows 10 with 32 GB of RAM and 1 TB of storage. This machine keeps up with pretty much everything you throw at it. Keep in mind that this does have extra RAM, with the retail variants of the ZenBook Duo coming with 16 GB of RAM. So this thing has double the RAM that you'd typically get from a retail device. There's a 70 watt-hour battery on the device as well, and that too is quite remarkable. You can push it up to 8 hours of medium to high-end usage with video edits, multimedia consumption, renders, and both the screens active at about half brightness. And all of these things coupled with the processing power on the ZenBook Duo work like an absolute charm. It's actually very, very impressive. With Type-C USB charging using any smartphone charger as well, you have yourself the absolute powerhouse of a machine that is also thermally efficient and only ramps up its fans when rendering a video, even though it's not by much. With all of these things considered, the only slight learning curve with the ZenBook Duo 14 comes with the keyboard and trackpad. The keyboard has a very slight curve to its keys and it feels a bit mushy with that 1.4mm travel. We're glad it comes with backlighting support, but it does feel a bit cramped up, just like the right-sided trackpad. The trackpad just makes gestures feel a bit harder to execute, and of course for someone who isn't right-handed, it could lead to a very awkward situation. But that's really the only minor complaint we have about the ZenBook Duo, which otherwise exceeds pretty much every expectation. Even with its pricing at 5,999 dirhams, it offers some incredible value for money, and we would go as far as saying that it competes well with the Apple M1 MacBook Pro and offers much more than just raw performance. So those are our thoughts on the 2021 Asus ZenBook Duo 14. We hope you found this video useful, and if you did, a like would be very much appreciated. Definitely subscribe for more videos. This was Vaibhav, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.